Think about the last time you felt guilty. Not because you hurt someone, not because you made a real mistake, but simply because you felt something, wanted something, were something the church said you should not be. That guilt has lived inside you for decades, quietly, heavily, like a shadow you cannot shake. The church told you guilt is God speaking, a sign that you have disappointed Him, that you are not worthy, not holy enough, not good enough. But Carl Jung discovered something that changes everything. That guilt is not God's voice. It is a psychological wound, planted early, watered by institutions that needed your shame to survive. God does not speak to you through self-destruction. So where did this guilt come from? Why did the church need it? And what is the truth? Let me show you. So, what exactly did the church teach you about guilt? The church said guilt is holy, a gift from God, proof that your conscience is working, that you are still connected to divine moral law. They said a person without guilt is dangerous, godless, lost. And so guilt became a spiritual virtue, something to be cultivated, embraced, even celebrated. The church gave you an endless list of things to feel guilty about: your thoughts, your desires, your doubts, your body, your mistakes, your very nature as a human being. And every Sunday that list was read aloud from the pulpit with authority, with certainty. You were taught that feeling guilty meant you were still reachable by God, still salvageable, still within His mercy. But Jung looked at this teaching and saw something deeply troubling. He did not see holiness in this guilt. He saw a wound. But where exactly did this teaching come from? So where did the church's obsession with guilt actually begin? It did not begin with God. It did not begin with Scripture. It began with a man named Augustine, a theologian who lived 1600 years ago. Augustine believed that human beings were born corrupt, broken from birth, stained by what he called original sin. And from that one idea, an entire system was built, a system that told every human being you entered this world already guilty, already fallen, already in debt to a God you had never met. Jung studied this history carefully, and he found that Augustine's theology was not divine revelation. It was a personal psychological projection, a man who struggled deeply with his own desires and built an entire doctrine around his private shame. One man's wound became the spiritual inheritance of billions. But why did the church adopt this teaching so eagerly? So why did the church embrace a theology built on shame? Because guilt is the perfect control mechanism. Think about it slowly. A person who feels worthy does not need saving. A person who trusts themselves does not need constant guidance. A person who believes they are enough does not return every Sunday desperate for reassurance. But a person drowning in guilt is entirely dependent. Dependent on confession, dependent on absolution, dependent on the priest who holds the key to their relief, dependent on the institution that decides whether they are forgiven or not. Jung understood this dynamic with complete clarity. He called it the power of the wound. The deeper the shame, the stronger the dependency. The stronger the dependency, the more powerful the institution. Your guilt was never about your relationship with God. It was about your relationship with the church. But what does this guilt actually do to the human psyche? So what does chronic guilt actually do to a person? Jung spent decades studying the psychological effects of religious shame, and what he found was devastating. Chronic guilt does not make people better. It does not make them holier. It does not bring them closer to God. It breaks them. A person carrying decades of religious guilt lives in a permanent state of unworthiness. They cannot receive love because they do not believe they deserve it. They cannot make decisions because every choice feels potentially sinful. They cannot rest because rest feels like laziness, like another failure. Jung called this the guilty conscience complex, a psychological prison built from the outside but maintained entirely from within. And the cruelest part is that the prisoner does not even see the bars. They believe the prison is holiness. They believe the chains are devotion. But what did the Bible actually say about guilt and God? So what did the Bible actually say about guilt? Here is what the church never told you. The original Hebrew and Greek texts do not contain the word guilt the way the church uses it. The word used was closer to responsibility, accountability, a momentary recognition that something needs to change. Not a permanent state, not a lifelong identity, not a chain you wear forever. The Bible spoke of a God who restores, who lifts, who says, "Rise and walk," not "crawl and suffer." Jung studied the earliest Christian texts carefully, and he found that the original message was not shame, it was transformation. Not "you are permanently broken," but "you are capable of becoming whole." The guilty, unworthy sinner was not a biblical concept, it was a translation choice made by institutions that needed you on your knees, not before God, before them. But what is the difference between real guilt and false guilt? So, what is the difference between real guilt and false guilt? Jung made a distinction that changes everything. Real guilt is healthy, natural. It arrives when you have genuinely harmed someone, when you have violated your own deep values, when something real needs to be repaired. Real guilt has a purpose. It points to a specific action. It says, "Fix this, apologize, make it right," and then it leaves. False guilt never leaves. False guilt arrives when you simply exist as a human being, when you feel desire, when you experience doubt, when you are too loud, too ambitious, too angry, too much. False guilt is not a compass. It is a cage. It does not point toward repair. It points toward permanent unworthiness. Jung discovered that most religious people are not carrying real guilt at all. They are carrying decades of false guilt installed by an institution, mistaken for the voice of God. But how exactly do you tell the difference inside yourself? So how do you know which guilt you are carrying? Jung gave a remarkably simple test. Ask yourself one question. Does this guilt point to something specific I can fix? Or does it simply make me feel like I am not enough? Real guilt is specific. It has a name, a face, an action attached to it. It says, "You hurt this person. You broke this promise. You crossed this line. Fix it." False guilt is formless. It has no specific target. It simply sits, heavy, persistent, whispering, "You are not good enough. You never were. You never will be." Real guilt motivates repair. false guilt motivates only shame. Jung discovered that most people who come to him carrying lifelong guilt could not name a single specific thing they had done wrong. They simply felt fundamentally unworthy. That unworthiness is not conscience. It is not God speaking. It is a wound dressed up as devotion. But what does God actually feel about you?
So what does God actually feel about you? Not what the church says, not what Augustine decided, not what was mistranslated and repeated for 1600 years. What does God actually feel? Jung believed deeply in the divine. He was not an atheist. He spent his entire life exploring the relationship between the human soul and God, and he arrived at a conclusion that the church found deeply threatening. God does not look at you and see a guilty sinner desperately needing punishment. God looks at you and sees a soul, whole, worthy, already loved. Not loved because you earned it, not loved because you suppressed enough desires, not loved because you sat in enough pews and felt enough shame. Loved simply because you exist. Jung found this truth not in church doctrine, but in the deepest layers of the human unconscious, where the soul already knows it is enough. But if God already loves you, why does the guilt not simply disappear? So, if God already loves you, why does the guilt still feel so real? Because guilt is not spiritual, it is psychological. And psychological wounds do not heal through theology alone. You cannot simply be told God loves you and have decades of installed shame instantly dissolve. Jung understood this completely. He saw that religious guilt becomes embedded not in your beliefs, but in your nervous system, in your body, in the automatic voice that speaks before you even have time to think. That voice was installed in childhood by parents who were themselves wounded, by priests who were themselves controlled, by a system that needed your shame more than your wholeness. And that voice learned to sound like God because it was always presented as God. So the mind cannot simply reject it. Rejecting it feels like rejecting God himself. That is the trap. That is the genius of the system. But Jung discovered a way to finally silence that voice. How?
So how did Jung say you finally silence the guilty voice? Not by fighting it, not by praying harder, not by suppressing it with more religious discipline, but by doing something the church never encouraged, by questioning it. Jung said, every time the guilt arrives, stop. Do not obey it automatically. Do not spiral into shame. Simply ask, where did this come from? Who put this here? Is this actually God speaking, or is this a wound speaking? Because the moment you question the voice, its power begins to dissolve. Guilt survives on automatic obedience. The moment you shine conscious awareness on it, it loses its grip. Jung called this process withdrawing the projection, recognizing that the voice you believed was God was actually a human institution speaking in God's name for its own purposes. And then something remarkable happens. The silence that follows is not emptiness. It is the first time you have ever truly heard yourself. But what do you do with all the years already spent in false guilt? So what do you do with the decades already spent in false guilt? This is the question that sits heaviest, especially for those who have lived 60, 70, 80 years, carrying a weight that was never theirs to carry. Jung had a profound answer. He said, nothing is lost.
not a single year, not a single moment of suffering. Because every experience, even the painful ones, even the wasted ones, even the years spent in shame, become the raw material of wholeness when you finally see them clearly. Jung called this the integration of suffering, the moment you stop seeing your pain as punishment and start seeing it as experience, as depth, as the very thing that makes your soul rich. The years you spent in guilt taught you something no comfortable life ever could. They taught you what it feels like to be human, fully, painfully, completely. And that knowledge is not a wound anymore. It is wisdom. But what does a life finally free from false guilt actually look like? So what does life actually look like when false guilt finally releases its grip? Jung observed this transformation in hundreds of people, and he described it with one word: lightness. Not the absence of responsibility, not the abandonment of values, not a life without conscience or care, but a profound, settled lightness. The feeling of a person who has put down a weight they carried so long they forgot it was not part of them. A person free from false guilt makes decisions from love, not fear. They help others because they genuinely care, not because they are terrified of divine punishment. They pray differently, not desperately, not apologetically, but conversationally, as someone speaking to a God who already loves them, who always did. They wake up differently, without that first morning whisper telling them they are not enough. They simply are enough. They always were. The only difference now is they finally believe it. But how do you carry this truth forward for the rest of your life? So here is conclusion. What Carl Jung discovered about your guilt. God is real. Conscience is real. Accountability is real. But the crushing, lifelong, identity-destroying guilt the church installed in you is not from God. It never was. It was invented by wounded men, mistranslated by institutions, and passed down through generations of people who never questioned whether the weight they carried was ever theirs to carry. Jung spent his entire life proving that God does not speak to you through self-destruction. God speaks to you through wholeness, through love, through the quiet voice that says, "You are enough. You always were." Now tell me, when you sit with your guilt, what do you feel? Drop one word in the comments. Trapped if it still controls you. Healing if you are finding your way out. Free if this truth finally landed. I read every comment, and I want to know, what has your guilt cost you? And if this video lifted something heavy, subscribe to SYC Soul. This is SYC Soul. You were never meant to live in shame. You were meant to live in wholeness.